Hey everyone, welcome to this mini podcast project series where we are going to go down the rabbit hole of ballet and the ballet wallets. For those who don't know, Ballet, which started in 2019, is a US company behind the world's first multi-currency, non-electronic, physical crypto wallet. My name is Eric, and I am part of the marketing team here at Ballet, and I'll be chatting with Ballet's founder and CEO, Bobby Lee, in all things ballet. From how it all started, to the inspiration behind it, from design to inception, what makes it secure and different from hardware wallets, and what the future looks like for ballet and crypto wallets in general. We're excited to bring this story to you all, so sit back and enjoy the conversation we had with Bobby Lee. And on part 4 of the podcast series, The Story Behind Ballet, we have Bobby Lee once again joining us in this podcast discussion about the fundamentals and what makes ballet fundamentally different from other crypto wallets and its new approach to cold storage. On the last podcast, part 3, if you haven't listened to it yet, Bobby went on to discuss his experiences using other crypto wallets during his time in 2018 and how that were planted the seeds in his idea and in his team's ideation of ballet and how they made it different from other wallets. So in this podcast, we'll be discussing how exactly is ballet different from other wallets. So welcome back to the podcast, Bobby.
Yeah, great. This will be a fun topic. Great to be here.
So as I alluded to just now, based on your experiences in 2018 playing around with different crypto wallets, what did you see lacking in the existing options of hardware wallets?
Well, the biggest problem is about usability and easy to use, right? I think over the years we've had really safe solutions. So remember, Bitcoin, the wallet terminology didn't even come up in the early days. Even when I joined Bitcoin in 2011, there was no wallet concept. It was just you run the Bitcoin software and that's how you get your Bitcoins. That's how you receive and send your Bitcoins. So the concept of a wallet, the concept of another program, another software or hardware that can store your Bitcoins was new. But then over the subsequent 3, 4, 5 years, we've seen wallets come up, wallet makers in software, mobile phones, and also hardware wallet makers. And they range in convenience and security. And for the safest choices have always been the offline cold storage wallets made by the hardware wallet makers, right? Trezor was the industry first. They announced the Trezor hardware wallet. It was very exciting in the Bitcoin community. Finally, you can have the concept of cold storage in an electronic device with a secure chip protecting the private keys. It was a revolutionary concept. It was really awesome. Now, however, through from 2016 to 2018, when we were deep in the business, what I realized is my friends, they had no choice, no viable choice to use a safe wallet because all of the hardware wallet choices out there were extremely difficult to use. And what I mean by difficult is not punching buttons, but the overall process in terms of setting it up, in terms of keying in the PIN codes and passphrases, in terms of writing down the backup recovery seeds, right? Those processes were just overwhelming for the average individual. You can do it, but there is a risk of making a mistake. And any mistake you make in that process can be fatal from the sense of you losing the funds. Even the topic of maintaining backups, right? People say, oh, it's simple. It's just 24 words or 12 words. You write it down, put it in the safe place. Yeah, but I've heard horror stories of people, writing down the wrong words in the wrong order. Sometimes missing words because some wallets get fancy, ask you to write down these 4 words here, these 8 words over there, and mix them up in different sheets of paper. And you end up with an incomplete backup. And that's just mind-boggling, right? So I've heard a lot of horror stories, people, the paper, either losing it or it being flimsy, the ink runs, just a lot of horror stories with the backup process. A lot of horror stories with setting it up, and some wallets have PIN codes where you lock it up at front. I think I shared the story myself. Even for me, quote unquote expert, there was a real instance where I typed in the wrong PIN code on my hardware wallet. And after 3 tries, I thought I knew it. It was such a good passcode. I thought I knew it, but it was too good. I forgot the one I used, the special one. And, after 3 tries, it wiped itself out. So these are what I call avoidable mistakes. And that's the issue, right? Too many wallet makers out there had avoidable mistakes. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Too many wallets out there were so hard to use where users would actually keep repeatedly make avoidable mistakes. And to me, that's the biggest frustration going into making Ballet.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like if you think about the early days of the internet and the computer, obviously not many people had it. Most of the people that knew how to operate a computer and internet had some kind of engineering background or experience beforehand. And that, I think that's where we're kind of seeing with the whole crypto space too. Obviously in the beginning, it was very esoteric. I mean, for some people, reading the white paper itself is confusing. But now that we have, over 10 years of the industry going forwards, new people coming in, new technologies coming in to help out existing current complications with the industry and with certain cryptos, for example. But I even still think there is some weak points. For example, and I know you've touched this before, talk about how even wallets today, hardware wallets, they're even in some aspects prone to eventually becoming obsolete.
Yeah, well, that's another issue, but we haven't really seen that play out yet. But for me, being future thinking and long-term minded, it is going to be a problem. So just to take us out of context, I've been a fan of the iPhone since its very beginning. So today it's 2021. The iPhone came out, 14 years ago, right? 2007. Mm-hmm. June of 2007 was when it first came out, the first iPhone, first gen. I got that. In fact, I got 2 units of that summer, 2007. So that device obviously is a historical, museum piece. But compared to today's technology, that is really old and antiquated. So no one uses the first generation or even the second generation of iPhone 3G, so to speak. My point is, with electronics, with devices like smartphones, they're great when they come out. They're brand spanking new. Like even the phone I use today, the iPhone 12 Pro, right? There's going to be the iPhone 13 coming out this fall, right? They seem amazing, new and fast today, but give it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, they're going to seem like relics, a piece of brick, like a door stop, right? So my point is, my time frame for holding crypto is much longer than the typical time of life for these hardware devices. That's why, I got the first generation Trezor wallet. I had the first generation Ledger Nano S. I know the Ledger and the Trezor, now they have new fancy generations models with Bluetooth and all that stuff. But the point is, the older versions, I think it's near their end of life. Even Apple, for example, has strict end of life timeframes set for its devices. Apple is already really generous. They already can stretch the use time for their devices for maybe 7 years or 8 years. But really, after 10 years, the devices are really obsolete and they're no longer serviced. They even if they break or battery issues, power issues, there's nowhere to fix it, right? So the same will happen with hardware wallets that we are using today. I know many people still use the first generation Trezor devices and also the Ledger Nano S. And now that there are new versions out there, maybe in 2 or 3, 4 years or 5 years for sure, some of these older units will stop working because of the firmware issues, of the hardware electronics, the battery power issues, the power cables, even the standards, right? USB. Now we're moving to USB-C. Back then there was this USB micro A kind of connector. Who knows what's going to happen in 5, 10, 15 years, right? Even today's USB-C standard may not last more than 10 years, 15 years, right? So that's a real genuine issue. People today are not thinking about it, but for me, having been a tech guy all my life, I know the real issues with technological obsolescence, right? I remember in the early days, my first computer had floppy disks, these 5 1/4 inch floppy disks. I didn't have the honor to use these large 8-inch floppy disks, but the ones I used, they were called mini floppy disks, yet they were 5 1/4 inch. Right? I don't know if no one's probably ever seen them anymore. And the later version was the micro floppy disk, the 3.5 inch. the cassette tape. That came with the Macintosh, right? Sony invented that. So those things are relics. Like if you had private key stored on that, like forget it, how are you gonna get it out, right? Even, for a while, I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, very popular, the zip disk, 100 megabytes, It was, I was a teenager, it was like, oh, amazing, the zip disk. And then later we had CD-ROMs, right? CD-ROMs and DVD-ROMs. Today, if you gave me a CD with so-called, family photos from whatever the 1990s, it's going to take me some trouble to get that data out of the CD because I don't have any CD players. And by chance, in real life, I've noticed CD players and DVD players do not reliably read the data off of the old CDs and DVDs anymore. I don't know if you've had that trouble, but I certainly have, and it's really sad.
Let alone finding a laptop that actually has capabilities to put in a CD.
Oh yeah, that's the issue, right?
Most modern day laptops do not have a slot anymore for putting in CDs. So.
Yeah. So the analogy, of course, none of the hardware wallets today use CD, DVD, or floppy disk technology. Obviously, yeah, right. But my point is that the hardware devices today that use the latest Bluetooth standard, the latest NFC, the latest USB-C, these are all technology standards that one day for sure will be obsolete, right? And you give it enough time, then it will really be like hard to get out. And the worst is not just the connection standard. The worst is if the private keys are actually embedded in these secure enclave chips with special software communication protocols that are proprietary. How do you get the software to talk to the chips to retrieve the private keys or to have it sign transactions, right? It's going to be a huge headache, especially if the coins have other fork coins and stuff like that. It's going to be a nightmare scenario. I mean, if for those of us who remember the forking of Bitcoin, the multiple forks in 2017 and late in 2018 early, Bitcoin forked like several times, right? So today, thankfully, we're still on the main chain, BTC being the key thing, but there are many forked versions of the Bitcoin. If you care about the value, they're minuscule in value, but the point is many wallets don't support that because how do you get your private keys to sign for those alternate fork coins? When the software and the firmware doesn't support it, you are screwed. You're so-called SOL, out of luck.
For the people who do know you, it's obvious that you have a very strong conviction on making things that you're passionate about easy and accessible to people. So with the Ballet wallets, what was the most important fundamental characteristics the Ballet wallets have that other crypto wallets did not have?
Yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Easiness, ease of use. All my life, ever since being at Yahoo, after college, after Stanford, all my career, I can't say I've done it at all the jobs in my career, but fundamentally as a person, I get excited about trying to make things easy to use, teaching people how to use technology, computers, and things like that. So I'm maybe you could say I'm an educator at heart. Okay, with cryptocurrency over the past 10 years, I've this is my 10th year anniversary getting to Bitcoin. I have convinced numerous tens, if not hundreds, of people around my life to get into Bitcoin by investing in Bitcoin. And the only regret, prior to 2019, is that I never had a good solution for all these people how to store their cryptocurrency. It's always been, okay, either store it on some exchange, cross your fingers, knock on wood, it's going to be safe. Or in some cases, I was generous. I say, let me hold it for you for the next few years or whatever. And I've done that for people. And that's always been a very, very risky thing from my perspective. It's just, I don't intend to defraud them, but who knows what might happen. So I really don't want to take the responsibility of holding on to their assets, right? So I really want to let them control it. And that's the impetus of Ballet. With Ballet, it is a fundamentally new approach to crypto wallets. What we've done, what we've achieved, I think is something very unique in the industry. We've managed to do something where we managed to do, Steve Jobs once had a quote. I think it was something like, this was when Steve Jobs was launching the iPhone SDK for the iPhone, and this was in 2018, okay, after a year after the launch, right? He said that they're trying to do two diametrically opposed things at once. So what's the two diametrically opposed things? In the case of the iPhone, it was how do you provide the open platform to allow people to write apps for the iPhone, yet at the same time make it very secure, right? So fundamentally, if you look at the mobile phone ecosystem or the software platform, if you have an open platform, then all kinds of developers can write all kinds of software that go crazy, especially hackers and stuff like that, malware. Yet it's flexible and open, but it's not safe. On the other hand, you can have a very safe platform that's very locked down, but you don't allow any sort of external apps and stuff like that. So with the Apple iPhone's App Store, they were able to bring these two diametrically opposed things into one device. And that's the success of the iPhone's App Store. For the crypto wallet, what we're trying to say is, traditionally with wallets that are super safe, it's never been easy to use. I'm talking about the hardware wallet providing cold storage. And with Ballet, I was trying to do the two diametrically opposed things, which is to have the safety of a cold storage wallet, hardware wallet, yet make it fundamentally easier to use. And the solution for that is to make it ready to use with no setup, right? Through my survey of friends and family, the most difficult thing in setting up a hardware wallet, in using a hardware wallet, is the setup process, which involves the generation of the backup recovery seeds, the 24 words, how to write it down, where to write it down, how to verify that you wrote it down correctly, right? It's simple. You just write down 24 words, but how do you verify it, right? Many hardware wallets in the early days, they just let people write it down. They don't even bother asking people to verify it, right? That's a terrible mistake, right? These days you ask people to verify it, but then it's cumbersome and there's still mistakes and the process is very involved. And the second thing is setting up the device itself in terms of an extra passcode, PIN code. You plugging it in. You may have to update the firmware. You have to download miniature programs that run on the devices for each of the coins you support, and also connecting to the internet. It's just a whole slew of problems. Connecting cables, maybe pairing a Bluetooth. Right? If you pair the wallet to your Bluetooth to your phone by Bluetooth, how do you unpair it? What if you lose your phone? What if you upgrade your phone? What if you change phones? How do you repair it? Is there a PIN code with that? With NFT wallets, some phones don't have the NFC capability to read and extract the private keys. So there's all sorts of issues with these electronic devices and the setup process and all that. With Ballet, what we've achieved is dead simple. You buy the device. Right? In our case, you buy it on Amazon or balletcrypto.com, and then literally you take it out of the packaging, or even without taking it out of the packaging, you can use it right away by depositing Bitcoin into the wallet through the QR code. It's ready to go. Right? Literally, it's the world's first and only wallet where you can literally load cryptocurrency on it the moment you buy it, and then give it to someone else, or either give it to yourself, put in your own safe, or give it to a friend or family member as a gift. Right? And it's so dead simple.
Yeah, I think this is one of basically the most important aspect of the Ballet wallets. And I think when a lot of people do come across it, they instantly see the same thing. And it surprises themselves as well how easy it is to use. For example, in my case, actually, I had a chance to, my father's birthday was coming up, and I had a chance to, I needed something to gift to him, right? Obviously, it's very hard to gift.
And what country? He's in a different country.
Yes, he at the moment he's in a different country. He is in New Jersey. I am all the way out here in Shanghai. And as anyone knows, right, in general, it's very hard to think of a gift for your parents, right, after so many years. But I did know that he did not have any Bitcoins, and obviously he knew that I was working in the Bitcoin industry.
Yeah.
So, I thought to myself, what would be a great way to gift him something that I am also passionate in, and something that I also work with, right? So I actually gifted him a Ballet wallet, the Gold series, the Gold Real BTC series Ballet wallet.
Very nice, fancy looking.
The one in the big acrylic display case.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to keep it as a collector's item or put it on your shelf and show it off. So I gifted him that, sent it to him without telling him actually. So I sent it to him through the mail, ordered it online. He received it, and then when he received it, he liked it, right? He was surprised, and he thought it was very nice. He also thankfully took a picture of it for me when he received it, and it was in that moment where once he sent me that picture of the Ballet wallet,
the front photo with the QR code of the wallet. Yep, by sending you the photo. Yeah,
exactly. So the picture that he took for me was of the front of the wallet, which enabled me to secretly send him some Bitcoins in it.
I see.
And then I was like, okay, Dad, yeah, it's very nice. I'm glad you like it. Download the Ballet Crypto app for me. He opened the app after
scanned the wallet,
and he was blown away because he then also realized that there were some Bitcoins in it, and the number of Bitcoins that was sent to him was actually his birthday. It was like 0.00 something, right? But it was, that whole process was just super simple. He basically received the Ballet wallet. Instantly, he also received Bitcoins.
Yes.
And I think that whole process itself is, in this day, in 2021, after 11 years of crypto, is still very hard to replicate compared to other crypto wallets.
Exactly. Without Ballet, so Eric, what you described is exactly the best use case, right? It's great for gifting, and it's great for gifting to people who are what we call either crypto newbies or crypto illiterate. They just don't know how to set up a proper wallet, how to receive Bitcoin. Typically, when you send Bitcoin to someone, they have to participate in the receiving of the Bitcoin because they have to have the capability to receive Bitcoin and give you a Bitcoin receiving address or a Bitcoin deposit address. And for crypto industry people like you and I, no problem. If you want to send me Bitcoin, I'll give you an address you can send it to. No problem. But for someone new like your father or for the billions of people on this planet who are not yet on board on crypto, how do you give them crypto to get started, right? In the old days was download Bitcoin Core, right? That's how my brother introduced me to Bitcoin. Download the Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin D program. At the time it was a few megabytes and that's it, right? 10 years ago. Whereas today it's impractical for you to ask your father to go download this Bitcoin Core program and then sync the blockchain for 180 gigabytes and then generate an address for you to deposit Bitcoin to. It would be crazy, right? Having him set up a passwords and all that stuff. So sending a Ballet wallet, and then just by having a photo of the front of it, you can then deposit Bitcoin or any number of cryptocurrencies out there, right? This is one of the key things. We actually have 4 patents already on this technology. So I'm very proud of the innovation we've brought to the market. We've made it super simple for new users to get on board Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
And like what you said before, I didn't even ask him for the receiving address.
Yeah, you didn't ask him. He volunteered to send you a photo, and
exactly.
That just worked perfectly.
Exactly. And it's also an added benefit that the wallet actually looks beautiful.
Yeah.
On that point, talk about the other fundamental characteristics of what makes the Ballet wallet just so much different than other wallets.
So to summarize, it is a wallet that is ready to use, yet it is just as safe as all the other cryptocurrency wallets out there, all the other hardware cold storage wallets out there. And here's what I mean. There's a misconception that Ballet wallets are not safe because, Ballet, the company, we generate the private keys. So technically, we don't generate the private keys. We actually generate the private key components, if you will, the entropy part for it. Because, for example, the wallet that your father received in the mail, did you buy it on Amazon? Did you buy it from our balletcrypto.com shop store?
Yeah, I bought it on balletcrypto.com.
Okay, all right. So that wallet was made in the U.S. And it was shipped from Las Vegas to New Jersey in your case. And I can assure you that the actual private keys of the address that you sent the Bitcoins to has never, first of all, it hasn't even been created yet. Okay, due to the amazing BIP38 technology, right? That private key has not even been generated yet. So until your father decides to spend the Bitcoin, peel the sticker, scratch off the passphrase, and move the Bitcoins out, that private key is unknown to everyone in the world. Okay, meaning that BIP38 allows us to make a pre-set up wallet with a deposit address when the private key itself has not been mixed and created. Okay, to create the private key, we have to actually do a cryptographic calculation between the two parts A and B of the entropy material. So those have never been touched and never been created. So even Ballet, there's no way for Ballet, the company or our employees, to ever know about that. So it makes it super secure. And I'm sure we'll talk about this at the later episode. And I really want to point out, this is an anecdote. Ballet's been around for 2 years now as a company. We've been selling our wallets for 1.5 years. And I can tell you proudly that we've had zero loss, zero customer loss, zero loss of funds due to any of these issues, such as cryptographic technology mishaps, such as hacking of private keys, hacking, anything like that. We've had zero loss due to user mistakes, right? So no one's made a user mistake. Like the whole process is super easy, right? There's no mistake that you can make in losing the private keys for your father, and no mistakes that he can make just by holding on to the wallet, right?
So essentially, he can just hold on to that Ballet wallet forever.
And then the private keys are there. Will be there when he needs it, and the funds will be there. And he can hold it for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years.
And even downloading the Ballet crypto app and, I guess, quote unquote, binding the wallet to the app.
That's right. That's exactly right. When he downloads the app on his Android phone or iPhone, he scans a wallet. There's no transmission of private key information at all, right? What he sees in the app, the amount, he sees an image of like a virtual card, and he sees the amount of Bitcoins in there and the value of it. There's no security aspects to that at all. If he loses the phone, if he replaces the phone, if he deletes the app, if the app gets corrupted, he has to reinstall the app, he will not lose the money. So this is an amazing thing.
So the app is merely just like a watch-only wallet.
Exactly. It's a watch-only wallet, right? So my point is this. My point is, over the 1.5 years, we've sold a lot of Ballet wallets, and most importantly, we've exceeded in the overall. This is not some small project experiment. Okay, Ballet wallets have been super successful for the last 1.5 years. Because all the data is on the blockchain, we can count the value of all the cryptocurrency stored on all Ballet wallets, and it's exceeded $250 million. And we're on track. Actually, I won't share what we think it'll get to by the end of the year, but that number will just keep going up and up and up, and it's going up at a very, very nice, steady rate. So we're seeing increasing adoption of Ballet wallets, and all that money, the $250 million, none of that's been lost, right? So that's amazing. And I don't think other hardware wallet makers can say that. I've heard of a lot of personal stories of friends and family and coworkers and people in the industry who've told me they or someone they know closely have lost funds using other brands of hardware wallet makers. And most of the loss is not due to hacking, but rather due to user misuse, meaning user mistakes. These are preventable mistakes where user made, it was too hard, too complicated, they screwed up, and then they lose the money. And the hardware makers, they don't even handle those, they just ignore these users because there's nothing the hardware wallet makers can do, and then they just don't even bother to attend to these issues because the users make these very avoidable mistakes. It's really sad.
So with other crypto wallets, I mean, obviously you've mentioned the pitfalls there. What do you think they're doing wrong? And what do you think they should be putting more emphasis on? Or do you think their products are more focused to a different demographic, a different target market?
Yeah, it's really what you said last. It's the demographics, right? These hardware, I told you, I use a Trezor, I use a Ledger, I use some of these other hardware wallet makers. I use it as a test product, and I also use it to store some personal funds on it. And for me, as an expert, as a security expert, as a crypto expert, I have no trouble using those products. I spend more time. I handle my backups carefully. I do put a lot of energy into it. The issue, you ask me, what are they doing wrong as a company? I think if they sell these complex, sophisticated hardware wallets, cold storage, to novice and new users and very low-key users, I think that's a mistake. Because you're inviting people to make avoidable mistakes. I think, if I were their CEO, I would say, don't sell these complicated products to the low end users. You should have a low end product to sell to the low end users, right? And Ballet is that special product that is really suitable for all newbies and low end users, right? And when your assets grow from $100 to $1,000 to $10,000, when it goes to $100,000 or $1 million, that's when you as a cryptocurrency investor should then invest more time and more energy into potentially diversifying your assets and looking at other choices of hardware wallets and maybe putting your eggs in different baskets, right? For example, your father today, it's none of my business how much Bitcoin you sent him. But the point is, if it's a small manageable amount, he keeps it all in that gold Ballet wallet you sent him. That's perfectly fine. In 5, 10, 20 years, let's say it balloons to $100,000 or $1 million or $10 million, right? Maybe it will, right? Knock on wood. By then, your father, whatever age he is, he should have the instinct and say, hey, it's time for him to start learning about other ways to store cryptocurrency and maybe split his eggs. By then, his egg is huge. He has multiple eggs, right? So he wants to split his nest egg into different technologies. Maybe keep some in Ballet, keep some in other hardware wallet makers, put some in custodial storage. And that way it's even safer, because the key to real safety is to split and diversify. And that's true not just for crypto, that's true in life in general.
I want to recite a quote from your book, The Promise of Bitcoin, and I found it very powerful. It goes, and this is what you said in the book too. I found that often with personal finance technology, people opt for the more complicated solutions, believing that they are superior in quality or safety because of their complexity, when they would be better off choosing a more user-friendly product. This line right here, it's very true. But at the same time, do you think people people these days are just we're wired into naturally thinking that the more complicated or the more, tech savvy a product looks, the more better it is, the safer it is? Do you think this is just a natural kind of tendency that we have as humans to kind of gravitate towards that?
Yeah, it's one of those human mistakes, if you will. We all have these. I forgot the terminology. So people do make the mistake. They associate complexity and sophistication with safety and security, and in some cases it's true, but in some cases it's not. Right? Like you have a for example, you have a simple I'm not an airplane pilot, but I've had ambitions to fly in a plane. I've taken some flight lessons, and I'll share this story quickly. So for new pilots to fly airplane, actually small aircraft, what they call the Cessna, I think it's a 152, whatever, the Cessna. The simple Cessna, it's a 2-seater or the 4-seater version. It's a propeller plane. It's called a prop plane. Just single propeller, has nice wings. It's a very safe and simple airplane. You could fly it alone, or you could fly with a co-pilot or instructor. And it's very safe because everything in there has redundant features, and the technology is simple, just wings and a propeller, a motor, and it glides for long. Even if the engine shuts down, it'll glide for a long distance. So a lot of cases, you have a lot of instances where Cessna pilots, due to whatever failure, they will still land safely and spare their lives. Okay. So that same pilot, you say, oh, should that person, a novice pilot, fly a jumbo jet, right? Whatever, it's a Boeing 747, a Boeing 787, right? These huge jumbo jets supposedly have more safety features, multiple engines, huge cabin with electronic flight controls, lots of fuel, lots of stuff. But if you don't have a sophistication to fly a jumbo jet, if you're not certified, then you're going to actually screw up and crash the plane, even if it has the best autopilot system. Does that make sense?
That's a good analogy.
Right? It's like the vast majority, so in that analogy, I'm probably qualified to fly the jumbo jets. If in the crypto industry, I'd be qualified to use the most sophisticated hardware wallets. But for most people like your father, they're not qualified to fly the jumbo jets and the Boeing 787 or the new Airbus 350, right? So people make the mistake, oh, that must be the safer plane. I'd rather fly the jumbo jet than fly the small propeller Cessna plane. But the reality is, for them, the Cessna plane is the safer choice. Or even the safer choice is, what they do is, okay, I'm not going to fly at all. I'm going to hire a pilot. I'm going to let third party custody it, right? So with Ballet, we're saying, hey, You don't have to hire a pilot. You don't have to put your coins with a custodial exchange. You can actually hold it safely because we have a revolutionary new approach where you can use this wallet. It's a physical bearer asset. You put your crypto in it, and then you just keep it safe, and you're good to go. And the assumption is this is long-term investment. You're not doing it for trading day-to-day, high-frequency trading, right?
So in 2019, when you guys did start Ballet and started the manufacturing and producing parts of the Ballet wallet, on the initial get-go, going to roadshows, going to conferences, events, and introducing the Ballet wallet to people who've, at that time never before seen the Ballet wallet, what do you think? What was their reaction like?
The reaction was pretty good. I think so for people who've been in the industry, they know that the Ballet wallet, the overall concept, the appearance, brings up two memories. Number one is the paper wallets of the old days, and then number two is the cassatious coins, the physical Bitcoins of the old days. And it's true. Today's Ballet wallet is a mixture of the traditional paper wallet and the cassatious coin. And here's what I mean. In both cases, they're pre-set up. Okay, both paper wallets and cassatious coins are pre-set up. But we're taking the best of both and adding some more magic, and that's what Ballet is. So the best part of the cassatious coin is it's a physical coin with a, back then it was brass or brass or steel or whatever. So in Ballet's case, it's stainless steel. So our form factor is the size of a credit card, whereas the cassatious coins were round coins, maybe an inch round or 1.5 inches round. And some were made of silver and gold. The first cassatious coin I received was made of silver, pure silver, right? Really nice, big coin. Very pretty design. So Ballet, we try to evoke the same thing. Very pretty design, nice. It's just in a different credit card size form factor rather than a round coin. Now with paper wallet, the benefit is you have the private key obviously printed inside or folded inside, and you have the public deposit address on the outside. And with that, what's great is you could really just scan the address, the QR code, and you could instantly deposit coins into it. So cassatious coins didn't have the QR code on front, yet the paper wallets don't have a strong metal backing. So paper wallets were vulnerable. They were not waterproof. They were certainly not very safe, and they were fragile, right? The paper wallets. So we've combined the best, and we've made a hybrid product that takes that where the Ballet wallet is ready to use. There's a deposit address on there, and it's made on a very sturdy, firm, and decently thick plate of stainless steel. So it's very, very secure and longevity, right? Designed for a lifetime. And best part, we've added some magic. We still use open source, open protocol, open standards, in this case BIP38, meaning that the whole technology is not proprietary, because I don't want to create a proprietary technology where people can then have to worry where the Ballet will ever lock up the technology and lock up the funds, right? It's all open technology, open standards, BIP38. And the best part is we added some magic to allow for multi-currency support, right? So this is the first instance where you have a pre-set up wallet that has multi-currency support. So not just Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, all the ERC20 tokens, you have Litecoin, XRP, you have Zcash, you have Binance Smart Chain tokens, and all the stuff, all the fancy. We even allow you to store NFTs on there. ERC721. We're gonna have support for ERC1155 coming up, and we're gonna have support for NFTs on other chains and stuff like that. So it's very exciting. It's very easy to use.
Yeah, actually, thinking back now, in my first reaction when I saw the Ballet wallet was when I first met you back in 2019, actually. And I remember then when you when you gave me a Ballet wallet, it was just so easy to use. Just at the time too, I remember me sending you some fiat money first in order for me to receive Bitcoin.
That's right. We did a private sort of OTC transaction. You gave me some money and I sent you some Bitcoin, right?
Exactly.
And it was easy. It was literally could do it in front of within minutes.
It was just one click, download the app, and then scan the QR code, and there was my money.
Yeah, there was your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But
of course for me too, it's still at that time, I was still like a crypto noob, so to say. Obviously there were still some things about the Ballet wallet that I had questions, such as, why did the private key start with 6P when I always thought the private key started with like 5 or K? But obviously that would be for a topic for the next podcast, talking about BIP38. Before we end this podcast, Tell me about the time during 2019 when you ran into Bruce Willis on the plane.
Oh yeah. that was you remember that. So Bruce Willis, that was a fun story. I was flying back from the US to Shanghai.
And the reason why I want to bring up this last question before we end this podcast is because I think that is just this example epitomizes what Ballet Wallet was made for.
Yeah, exactly. So Bruce Willis, right? Famous Hollywood actor. I'm a big fan of his. Obviously Pulp Fiction is one of my all-time favorite movies, and he's in it. He's very tall, handsome gentleman. And I was flying back from the US to Shanghai. I was actually sitting in business class, and the flight was about to take off. It was leaving from the Los Angeles airport. I was coming from Las Vegas, stopover in Los Angeles to Shanghai. And when the gate was about to close, when everyone was boarded, the business class was like half empty, okay? I got upgraded to business class. And so what happened was these few passengers came up at the last moment, okay? I didn't think much to it. They just came in. I was on the left side of the plane in the center section, and they came into the left side sitting in the window seats. I think it was one tall gentleman, few ladies and two young children, okay? His two daughters, right? So this is public information. I think there are photos of them online and stuff like that. So I don't remember the names of the daughters, but the point is, I was like, look at this guy walking down the aisle. I was like, this guy looks just like the guy in Pulp Fiction, Bruce Willis. And I was smiling to myself. I didn't know it was him or not, right? So I was about to ask. I was thinking, should I ask? But then the funny thing happened was the flight attendant came back to serve drinks before takeoff. So she came over and whispered to him, like, Mr. Willis, what would you like to drink? And
that was a clue.
Like Mr. Willis, that was Bruce Willis, right? So that's when. You said he was wearing sunglasses, or I forgot. I had photos on my Twitter. I forgot if he was wearing sunglasses or not. I don't think he was wearing sunglasses. But he obviously, when you see actors out of their movies, they're more rough, more real people. They don't have makeup on. They're not all clean shaven and stuff like that. So sometimes there's a slight disguise. So I gently, try to chat with him. But given, these mega stars, they don't want to chat with me, right? So it wasn't a very fruitful encounter, but I did talk to his partner. I forgot it was his girlfriend or his wife. I guess his wife, his second wife after Demi Moore. So I forgot her name. I spoke with her a little bit. They switched seats. But they were sitting basically. I was on the center section. It was like 222 seating, 222. They were on the two left side. I was in the center two on the left side, so I could see them. They were literally almost next to each other. And I chatted with them, hey, I'm into Bitcoin. This is after my first conference in Las Vegas. And I think it was October, November of 2019, okay? Flying back to China. So apparently they were going to China on vacation, right? So I got confirmation it was Bruce Willis because by the time they landed, there's like a media frenzy and all the fans were greeting them at the airport, so it's clearly it was Bruce Willis, right? So on the plane, after the plane took off, I had these two gold wallets, just like the ones you gave your father. And what I did was I turned on airline Wi-Fi. I paid, whatever, $15 for airline Wi-Fi. And I was able to do an on-chain transaction, send some Bitcoins from my own wallet, Ballet Wallet, to these two gold wallets. And after loaded with Bitcoin, I gave it to Bruce Willis's family for their two daughters. And I believe it was about, at the time crypto was maybe $9,000, maybe around there, if I remember correctly. So it was about 0.01 BTC. So it's about less than $100 each, a gift. So 0.01. So that was a gift I gave them.
Wow.
And today, each of those wallets would hold, $450 now, from $90 to $450. So these are crypto newbies. They don't know about Bitcoin, right? I hope they kept those wallets. I told them, keep it safe. That these have Bitcoins in them for their two daughters, their young age, and maybe they'll remember one day and come back and talk about it. But it was fun to meet them on the plane. They unfortunately declined to take a selfie photo with me, which is understandable. And but it was good to share, crypto, share Bitcoin as a gift to young children who otherwise would not be able they can't, we couldn't have set up a Coinbase account for them on the plane, nor could we have purchased a hardware wallet, set it up with a seed recovery phrase and give it to them. It would just be impractical. By the time they grow up, they'll forget the password. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Ballet was the only practical choice to give Bitcoin. In the same way I gave Ron Paul some Bitcoin at the conference that October, I think it was October, November. So Ron Paul, again, very famous politician. How do you give him Bitcoin? Well, he's not going to set up a wallet and give you the address, right? The best way is load it into Ballet Wallet and hand it to him, and there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, I wanted to bring up that example because I thought that was just a great story to kind of encapsulate the ease and accessibility of Ballet wallets. You can just basically give it to somebody.
Yeah.
And what's funny as well is that I joke around with some people as well. During times when the Bitcoin network is congested, when fees are skyrocketing high.
Yeah.
You can make the joke in saying, oh, you don't need to pay Bitcoin fees. You can just hand me over your Ballet wallet.
Yeah, exactly. You can hand over wallet. You could give Bitcoin off-chain, so to speak. Instead of giving on-chain, if you already have the Bitcoin loaded on the wallet, you could just give off-chain and give it to someone physically. It's very beautiful.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. On the next podcast, we're going to get deeper into the technicalities and all the nuts and bolts of the Ballet wallet, starting from BIP38 to the whole 2-key factor generation process, and etc. This podcast, we got the community and the users to learn about what makes Ballet fundamentally different from the crypto wallets, which was awesome. So stay tuned in the next podcast where you'll get to learn more about the technicalities behind the Ballet wallet. So thank you again, Bobby.
Okay, thank you.
If you enjoyed this conversation with Bobby Lee, let us know your takeaways in the comment section below. Also, please feel free to share it on social media and tag us accordingly based on our social media handles in the video description. And if you haven't already, please follow us on Twitter @Ballet Crypto to stay on top of all the latest happenings with our wallets, news, promotions, and educational content. On the next episode of this podcast series, we'll be chatting again with Bobby Lee on the technicality and the nuts and bolts of the Ballet wallets. So please stay tuned for that episode to come out by subscribing to our YouTube channel.